to have these as they are.
But think how much better they could be if you had the original negatives still in existence.
Right, right. Some of the early photographers I know, Ernie Tucker, who's still with us, took many of these pictures that we'll be looking at in the show here.
That's true.
Okay, what's next, Paul?
Well, a big event in late 1930 was the purchase of a Spartan biplane. The Aero Club had heard of this plane for sale down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it was flown up to Beverly by a fellow named Larry Thompson, and he was flying a passenger with him by the name of Bancroft Hall, who he dropped off on the way up.
From Tulsa, Oklahoma.
All the way from Tulsa. Of course, it was over a period of time. I must have made quite a few stops in between.
Sure.
Now, Larry liked the area, the Beverly area, so much when he got here. In fact, he got his first glimpse of the Atlantic Ocean as his aircraft approached Beverly before he even stopped here, finally. And I guess the combination of the area and the ocean and so forth just attracted him so much that he decided to settle in Beverly. And he became the chief pilot, succeeding Slim Halstead at the airport.
Slim had been there for a number of years at this point in time.
And he stayed at the Beverly probably for about 10 years before he went into World War II in the 8th Air Force. He also succeeded Elton McNeil as president of the Aero Club. Elton McNeil becoming president when the Aero Club was incorporated back in 1929. So this is the photograph.
We'll see here in the notes that he also, later on, as we'll see in the pictures, served as the first airmail pilot.
Yes.
Officially designated.
Yes, in 1938.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yes, we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Fine picture. Fine picture.
This actually was taken down on the way up somewhere during one of the stops on the way up to the Beverly field.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the location of it.
Yeah.
Dick Herndon of the Beverly Aero Club, he's the one who put up the money for the aircraft.
Boy, they sure don't look like they're put together all that securely, do they? I mean,
no, although
I'm a 747 fan myself here, but these things kind of fascinate me in terms of the people who would dare to go up in them as a matter of, you know, like we would drive our car down the highway.
And there's still some of these around of this same vintage, been restored by various people. Yeah. So they're still being flown.
Yep. Okay.
The next photo is the same plane taxiing at the airport itself back in the early 1930s. Larry Thompson is pictured in the rear seat, and probably just a passenger is in the front seat. Usually the pilot would be in the rear and the passenger would be in the front on a biplane of this sort.
Most of them were two-seaters, really.
Yeah,
most of the planes
tandem type.
Tandem. Okay. Item 11, we have...
Now, this is an interesting ticket, or flight certificate, rather, which Ken Hay, who Dick Symmes knows, who formerly lived in North Beverly, he received this certificate from Slim Halstead after he made a flight at the airport back in September of 1931.
Rich, I know you've corresponded with Mr. Hay quite extensively, and you have some fine pictures from him.
A lot of things he has sent us over the years. He apparently is quite an airplane buff. And so in addition to some other fine pictures of the North Beverly area in general, he's also been very kind to us with respect to several aircraft pictures over the years that he comes across among his things.
things mechanical. I know there's some fine pictures of the first automobiles probably.
That too.
were up
Yeah,
across
he's
that
got a
way.
lot of that too. He's been very
Sent
good.
by Mr. Hay. Nice gesture.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the two photos of the Aero Sport, which we discussed a little while ago, those were taken by
That's right.
Mr. Hay. Yes.
Okay.
Now, another event which occurred over a 2-month period back in 1933 was the landing of a Curtiss Condor owned by Chamberlain Airlines, flown by Clarence Chamberlain, the owner, along with Miss Ruth Nichols, aviatrix Ruth Nichols, who served as the co-pilot. This plane flew throughout the New England area, landing at various fields to promote the airline. And as I said, it landed at Beverly quite a few times, usually on a Sunday afternoon.
We see here a nice fine picture of Mayor Torrey,
Mayor Torrey,
who was our mayor at that point in time, succeeding, I believe, Roy Patch, I believe, following Roy Patch as mayor of Beverly. And the aviatrix, Ruth Nichols. Now that was something, Rich, to be flying. The ladies were starting to get into it too.
Yeah, of course,
Earhart would come along.
Because Amelia
in a
was
few
one
years
of the
hence
first.
there, and there was something that some of the women got into too at the early stages.
That's right.
But again, we have to go back to Charles Lindbergh, though, don't we? To be the, he was the catalyst. He was the fellow that
started
really
it all,
sparked the interest
yeah.
in flying. Got people to really think of this gadget as really more than just a toy to be played with.
I think once you proved that you could actually fly across a large body like the Atlantic Ocean successfully, it took it out of the novelty category and made it real for a lot of people. And then these folks here that we're looking at tonight sort of carried on from there.
Sure, absolutely.
True.
Okay, let's move right along here.
Well, on the same subject of the Chamberlain Airlines, we see the picture of the Curtiss Condor itself taxiing at the Beverly Airport during 1933. As I said, it would come in on occasional Sundays. And later in the 1930s, also this aircraft, I had heard, made stops at the airfield, probably in 1937 or 38 period.
Well, you know, this picture here, before we leave it, Rich, you and I talked about this picture because it was part of your collection also.
That's right.
The North Beverly collection of photographs, and the fact that these fine automobiles here are in the picture really makes it quite interesting to look at.
It looks very natural.
Yep, it does. Okay, Paul.
Okay, the third one to do with the Chamberlain flights was an interior cabin shot of close-up of Miss Nichols, along with a partial picture of Clarence Chamberlain to her left. At a later date, Miss Nichols was involved in an accident in this plane flown by another flyer by the name of Hublitz. As they were approaching Troy, New York airport, the airplane crashed, and Mr. Hublitz lost his life, and Miss Nichols was injured quite badly.
Ending her career.
I think it ended her career, really.
As a pilot.
Yes.
And this Clarence Chamberlain now, he owned airlines, commercial airlines. Would he be flying passengers or freight? Or
Passengers. It was a small operation.
one of the first of its kind, I'm sure, at this point in time here.
Yes, yes.
Early 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 15. Another group photo
Now,
here.
yeah, you mentioned earlier about Larry Thompson becoming an airmail pilot. Back in May of 1938, they observed Airmail Week throughout the state, and Larry Thompson was sworn in as the first airmail pilot at Beverly Airport, and he's shown in this picture being sworn in by Postmaster Henry Cottrell. And Assistant Postmaster Roger Fagan, I believe you pronounce it,
He would later
on the
on-
left side.
Yeah, he would later, Mr. Fagan would later on become the postmaster after, I believe, Mr. Cottrell retired.
Yes.
Quite a historic picture we're looking at here, really. A couple of postmasters of
Yeah.
in
Yes, it
Beverly.
is. It's a first.
Flyers here. Yeah.
Now, before the flight itself, the next picture.
Okay, the preceding one now, the one we just talked about, is dated May of 1938.
May
So,
1938.
by this time, the Beverly Airport is 10 years in existence. It's getting to have a little history of its own at this point in time.
Oh, sure, sure.
Okay, number 16.
Now, the 16 shows Mr. Herrick of the post office signing dispatch papers previous to the mail being flown from Beverly to Boston Airport.
Okay, so the idea that for airmail at that time was to fly it out of here into Boston and from there on another plane to other destinations.
Yes, yes.
And that was faster than trucking it in, or obviously on trains.
Well, oh, yes,
I know they used
sure,
to,
sure.
you know, the
Yeah.
train used to carry the bulk of the mail back in the old days.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Post office here is well represented in these old pictures.
Yeah. Now, I've been in correspondence with Stephen Cook, who lives in Lebanon, Maine. He found out about a group at the Society through a fellow who used to come to our meetings in dealing in the subject of railroading. And when he found out that our group also included aviation subjects, he sent some material to the Society to do with his flying experiences. And I've been in correspondence with him quite often since. And this is one of the photos that Steve Cook had taken and he had sent me. And it shows after the 1938 hurricane, the Beverly Aero Club hangar, and an upended tin shed on the left side, which originally stood on the other side of the hangar next to the parking lot.
This picture, Rich,
And,
kind of fascinates me because it's obviously taken some months after the storm, and
Sure,
they were in no particular hurry to clean it up.
I guess so, yes, yes. Also on the extreme left is what they call the field roller, which Pat Huzzy helped to make, and that would be used in the spring to roll the field down after the spring thaws.
So there was no paving at this point, right?
No,
in the airport.
no,
This was still strictly all grass.
All grass.
So you had to level out the frost heaves and that sort of thing.
Okay, let's do a couple of more quick ones, Paul, shall we, before we call it a day here?
Okay.
And
Well, the next photo shows Stephen Cook, who I just mentioned, standing in the center. On the left side is George Foster with Alice Jackson to the right,
some
and
of these local people, are they, or?
yes, Harold Morgenstern next to Stephen Cook, to the right of Stephen Cook as we're looking at the picture. He's the owner of the aircraft in the background, a Stinson SM-8 Junior.
Okay.
And he became an instructor at the airport in the late 30s.
Okay.
Pete Conwell is the fellow on the right-hand side.
Okay. So we have left to right George Foster, Alice Jackson, Steve Cook, and Harold
Morgenstern.
and Pete Conwell. You know, Paul, I'm getting the signal here. We've got to wrap this segment up of our series here. And as I look at the pile in front of me here, Rich, we're about halfway through the collection of pictures that we brought this evening. So we'll have to come back and finish this collection off. And it's been nice to have both of you on Beverly's Times Past, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Enjoyed very much
Good.
this.
Good. This is Ed Joseph saying so long for now, and we'll be back with you with Paul and Rich very soon.